There are only 6 days until Heart of Thorns releases. It's super surreal. It's unbelievable that we're already this close. It feels like it was just yesterday I was sat down watching PAX South with Matt Visual, and the expansion itself was confirmed to damn well exist. This time last year, there was no sign that ArenaNet were even considering such a concept, and now in less than a week we're going to be playing Heart of Thorns. Today I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how to tackle the expansion in Guild Wars 2. Now, there's someone very close to me, and there's going to be a lot of you guys watching as well, who kind of see Guild Wars 2 as your first MMO, and the idea of an expansion may be new to you entirely, but even if it's not, it's kind of an interesting idea for Guild Wars 2, because we're 3 years into the game, and so far, all we've really experienced is the default stuff that Arena had, and then, you know, the odd streaming update. There's never been such a huge bulk of content dropped into Guild Wars 2 all at once. So, there are a lot of questions on people's minds, and specifically as I've been streaming the past few days, as really we've closed into the past fortnight before release, a lot of people are starting to ask me, hey, Wood and Potatoes, I feel completely lost. What are you doing when the expansion comes out? Like, what are you going to prioritize? We have had weeks and weeks and months of constant news from ArenaNet about all these new things coming into the expansion. I'm not going to know where to start. Like, do you have any advice for that? Do you have any ideas for where I would get my value add? And I actually do. I have a pretty well-defined plan for myself of what I'm going to do in Heart of Thorns, and I wanted to share that with everyone to maybe encourage some of you to think the same way that I do, and hopefully that will leave you playing the game for longer, being happier with it, and, you know, not feeling like it's far too short and getting frustrated that you spent $50 on it and now you're kind of done in just a very short period of time. That idea that people are going to come, they're going to play it really quickly, they're going to zerg away, is terrifying to me. It's not healthy for the game at all. If you have that experience with Heart of Thorns, you're not going to take the next expansion particularly seriously for Guild Wars 2, or the one after that, or the one after that. That's obviously going to set us in a bad place. Because I tend to be such a pessimist about the size of the expansion, I'm such a grump, I'm such a grouch about the fact that there are only 4 maps coming into the game. I am so fearful that the length of the story is going to be equivalent to, you know, just Living World Season 2 and that's it. I'm so concerned about these things. My game plan for Heart of Thorns, kind of, within reason, stretches out the amount of content I'll get out of it and have fun. So really the first thing to express, I think, is the 3 core game types in GW2. Now, a lot of you guys listening to me will be thinking, right, yeah, I'm buying Heart of Thorns for World vs. World. I'm buying Heart of Thorns for Stronghold and the new PvP divisions and the chance to get in, you know, one of these Pro League teams and win over $100,000. Or you're probably, and most of you guys are thinking, oh, I'm just going to play for the PvE. I want to experience the story, and that's pretty much it. For me, I do certainly see value in being a player that flits between all 3 of those, and I'm really going to try to participate heavily in that first division, obviously play the PvE and the story, but mix and match between the 2 of them. And World vs. World as well. World vs. World, I feel like it's got kind of a bit of a barrier to entry for me. Maybe you guys can relate to this. I feel like because I'm not a part of any World vs. World community, big or small, it's kind of, there's that fear there that I can't just go into one of the Borderlands. I'll be queuing for ages, and I feel like if I'm not a part of, you know, some server-based TeamSpeak, already in with a community, I'm going to somehow be frowned on, or that people won't really like my existence there during, you know, the heavy matchup times. But I do want to, no matter how I can, experience some of the World vs. World stuff. You guys might not think too much has changed, because you might just think, oh, they're adding a new Borderland, hell, they're removing content, they're removing the old Borderland, but I really do think that as long as the guild stuff, the guild interactions with World vs. World, the war chest, the auto upgrade system, and the new squad UI are functional, actually a lot could change about World vs. World that makes me as a player far more excited. So that's one of my big goals actually for Heart of Thorns, to look into getting heavily involved in one of the game types I don't currently play. If I do that, you know, when there comes a day that I want to play some PvE and maybe I've still got something to do, but I want to wait, you know, I want to wait for my friend to get online or something, I still feel like there are those constant, endless MMO possibilities that there's other things I can do. You know, I can hang out in some of the other game types and I can have that fun. So that's really important to me. And I would say, if you've only ever considered yourself as a pure PvE player, pure World vs. World player, pure PvP player, I do think there is some healthy benefit to just looking at the other areas of the game. I mean, come on. They've been updated a lot. When you first started playing Guild Wars 2, did you try World vs. World? Did you try PvP and never go back to them? Well, see how you feel about them now, especially with stuff like the Elite Specializations. So that's kind of an overarching thing, but what about more specifics? What exactly am I doing when it comes to PvE at the very least? I do think there is a very easy possibility and a very big trap that a lot of people are falling in that I'm trying to not fall into myself. And this really only comes about for me, this urge comes about when I'm playing MMOs. That is the idea that I have to get through fast. I don't know what it is, man, but if a new massive RPG comes out that I'm interested in playing and it's a single-player experience, I will sit down and I will feel no pressure to play it really quickly, and I will enjoy every ounce of that RPG. I'll speak to all the NPCs, I'll look at all the flavor text, I'll really try and examine any little piece of information I can, just so that I get the maximum amount of playtime out of it, and it feels great. But when it comes to MMOs, when it comes to being a part of a guild, I always feel that, and I felt this on every single Living World update that came, you know, especially the big ones when like an entire new map came out, Dry Top gets released, Silver Waste gets released. You feel this really horrid pressure to be like, oh, I've got to stay ahead of the curve, I've got to keep up with all my friends, and it's kind of this scary idea. I'm trying to separate myself from that with Heart of Thorns, and I'm just trying to think, right, take my time with it. And the main thing that I'm looking at here is the Revenant. So we've got a new class. A lot of people, even with elite specializations for their existing classes, are going to be looking at the Revenant too. Maybe you're used to playing a friggin' 100 blades, phalanx strength warrior. You like the heavy armor frontliner that does tons of damage, but you are sick and tired of your warrior at this point. You want to play Revenant. Maybe you are a ranger and you don't like druid, you don't like dedicated support at all. You want to play a Revenant. There's a lot of people that, again, want to play that class. And I see the main thing most people are doing, at least that I interact with while I'm in game, is they're stacking up on writs of experience, tomes of knowledge. They're saving their 3-year anniversary items that give them 30 levels instantly at character creation. And their plans are to make a Revenant, spam it to 80, and then go to Heart of Thorns. To me, now, no matter how much I like the Revenant, that's kind of a nightmare scenario. And I think this is one of the biggest things that I'm going to be doing different to most players. See, the way I see it is this. I could do that. And I could probably have a lot of fun on my Revenant. Any character I've ever boosted to level 80, I tend to not feel very much connection to in the first place, so I'm already a little bit iffy about it, but maybe I really care about the Revenant and I'd do that. And not only am I playing a new class entirely that hopefully I find fun, but I'm playing it in the new areas with the new story, and I kind of get this really, really high quality experience. But as soon as I'm finished with the plot and the jungle, and I've seen a bunch of the events, you know, what is just 4 maps, right? After I've experienced that, if I am a pure PvE player, like a lot of us will be, I don't know, man. I could be done in like a week. I could have spent $50 on the expansion and I'll be done in a week, and I'll feel pretty bad about it. Why would I want to put myself in that position? On the other hand, I can do this, and this is my main plan. I'm going to go into the jungle on my existing main, right? Even though I don't care very much about the elite specialization for my main class, I don't care very much about Tempest, and specifically for like playing story and running around in the open world, I think playing kind of a supporty Oromancer character on the Tempest really isn't very fun to me. So I'll probably be playing like super standard Staff Ellie nonsense, or, you know, DD Ellie if the pressure's high enough in the jungle that I feel like I'll be more comfortable with it. And I'll just be playing totally bog standard stuff in the jungle. But I'll probably still have a lot of fun. The personal story I'll feel more connected to, perhaps, because, hey, this is my main, this is Liz, this is my Asura that has been through all of the existing story and will recognize Johanna, and I'll feel that extra weight there. And yes, then I'll exhaust the jungle content, I'll exhaust the story, but from that point, I still have a ton of stuff to do. I can now make a Revenant and play through the story again and experience the new areas again, see a bunch of the different dynamic events I may not have experienced before, but now have that fresh new class experience, and I've basically doubled my playtime for the expansion. At that, if I choose not to instantly level my Revenant to 80, so I feel some connection to the character, so I piecemeal learn about its trait lines and its skills through the hero point system, and the core Tyrian areas feel fun to me anyway because of the new map bonus reward systems, because of the new players around, the new squad UI, and the commanders that are there. If that situation arises, I get even more playtime out of Heart of Thorns. And kind of the idea here is that by doing this is my main plan, that by doing this, I will still have plenty to do. Maybe I won't even have got to my Revenant yet by the time the raids come out. By the time ArenaNet start throwing in the new legendaries, and by the time they even start rolling into Living World Season 3. And that keeps that incentive every day to get on and try something else. Specifically when it comes to playing the jungle with List, though, if you're looking for more advice, actually something that I'm also very interested in doing is I don't want to spend years, basically, in Verdant Brink or any individual map. And why is this? Because masteries are supposed to be encouraging a satisfying feeling of character progression beyond level 80. So they don't want gear grind, they don't want, you know, gear treadmills like we see in other MMOs, but they do want us to feel like we are building the capabilities of our characters and getting that kind of RPG feel of growing more powerful, right? And specifically, they're trying to encourage this Metroidvania feel. What does that mean for those of you guys out of the loop? It's kind of the idea that we will explore Verdant Brink, and at some point we will find a massive cliff that we cannot possibly scale, but there's a mushroom in front of the cliff, and we're like, okay, maybe we need to return here later. So you go off, you learn to master the jungle a little better. Basically, this means you get experience from elsewhere. And then, later on, you've learned how to use these mushrooms. You can walk back to it, bounce on the mushroom, climb the cliff, and then you kind of get that feeling that you had some satisfying progression. See, the thing that kind of scares me is that masteries might not take that long to complete. And if I linger, if I dawdle for too long in Verdant Brink, right? I could end up bumping a ton of masteries up and I miss out on that quality feel from Metroidvania. Because then I'll find an obstacle, but I'll already have it complete and I won't feel particularly satisfied that mechanic was there at all. This is especially scary to me because Guild Wars 2 is account binding all of our masteries. So if you miss it the first time, that's it. You've missed it for good unless you get another account and buy a copy of Heart of Thorns, which frankly, I'm not interested in doing. So that is quite important to me. You know, from what I've said earlier on in this video, you might think that I'm going to go really slowly and I'm going to put all these limits on myself to make sure I get as much content as possible out of the expansion. But no, it's not like that at all, really. When I'm playing the story, I am going to go story mission to story mission to story mission to story mission. I'm not going to have much regard for the other events or other things going on in the jungle, because then when the game does require me to go off and get experience for stuff, I kind of feel that mechanic at play instead of skipping it. And it's at that point that I feel even more rewarded when I'm doing the events around the maps. So I'm basically going to be on a beeline. I'm going to be on a beeline for the story. There are some other reasons as well. Personally, I want to get it done quick so that I can make a video for you guys, so that it wouldn't be spoiled by people. It is, of course, an MMO, so those are little things as well. But that is absolutely my #1 play for the expansion, and that's the decision that I've made. Once I get to a point that I have explored a lot of the story and explored a lot of the jungle, that is when I think the moment will be to start looking at the new legendary crafting, or specifically before raids come out, precursor crafting. We know for a fact that Twice Told Legend isn't available from the new legendary weapons, so what I'll probably do is the precursor scavenger hunt for the incinerator, so that my elementals can dual wield daggers, and I finish that title off and I complete my, Gen 1 legendary sets. And, we're already talking an immense amount of content. Raids will be out by the time I finish that. New legendaries will be out by the time I finish that. By the time I've done all of that, I still haven't started on my Revenant. And that's exactly the feeling that I want, that every day I log in, I'll get something new. And so that's my advice to you guys. That's the sentiment of the video. I know that feeling all too well on an MMO of being desperate to rush through. But in the end, it doesn't actually matter how quick you get through stuff. Do you know another feeling I'm also more than familiar with? The feeling of logging in because you want to log in and you want to play. You stop, you stare at your screen and you think, what the hell do I do? You find yourself standing in Lion's Arch, you have the urge, you think, oh, maybe I'll look online, maybe I'll be inspired by something, and the drive is just not there. You want the drive to be there, but it's not. And was rushing through at the start really worth feeling that later? I don't think so. Not for me. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, guys. Try to take it easy, and let me know what your plans are. I'm genuinely interested. You should go to the comments, look at what everyone else's plans are, and see maybe some alternate perspectives there. That's the way I'm dealing with Heart of Thorns. That answers the question that I have been asked oh so much this week, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.